Good evening and welcome to the Car Sim and Race Driver Show with a very, very special guest. This week it is, of course, Rory Alexander. Here he is. How are you doing tonight, Rory?
All good, thank you, Hugh. All good.
It's great to have you back on the show. And I know that you've been doing lots of incredible racing throughout the year. I've seen you race with Kirith in iRacing. And you've been doing some fantastic GT Sport videos where you've met some of the worst and some of the best drivers out there in the past few months. And it's always exciting to see your videos. You're thinking, oh my goodness, what has happened to poor old Rory when he comes out with these great titles. But tell me, give me a quick summary of what you've been doing this year.
Well, I've been hanging on really in terms of sim racing stuff, to be honest, Hugh. Obviously, welcome my second child into the world. As if one wasn't difficult enough, I thought it'd be good to have two. I thought it was a good idea at the time anyway. So yeah, just been hanging on really, just trying to make sure that, the content keeps coming. I feel a lot sort of more comfortable with it now. I can dedicate a bit more time to it now that our youngest Max is in a bit more of a routine. So as you would have seen, the content would be a bit more regular now, shall I say. But yeah, we're still trying to work out how to get the weekends free to do some endurance racing. That's the pickle at the moment, the conundrum.
Yeah. Because you've been doing, I've seen a number of your videos like on iRacing, because that was something that was fairly new for you, because mainly you did GT Sport before. And people will probably know you for, I always remember saying my goal was to get to A+ or S+ on GT Sport. And then that was the thing, and you got there and that was it. You got into the top split.
Yes.
But how was it when you first started to do iRacing? Because that's a big change.
It was completely alien to me, to be honest. It was a complete baptism of fire because as anyone who knows with iRacing, you start off in the Mazdas. And I don't know if anybody else was like me, but I just span every single time in the braking zone. Just the back came round, I was gone. That was the biggest thing for me. And just the change of ethos around safety first. And obviously Gran Turismo Sport, there's no damage or anything. So you can smash into each other as you alluded to earlier. I found out all too frequently you can get smashed into and I'm sure everybody, has the same thing. But with iRacing, there's a consequence and there's such a variety in iRacing as well. And I know people have a moan up about sort of the pricing model and all this sort of stuff. But if it's your hobby, I'm quite happy to invest in it. If it gets me that little bit closer to, the real thing, then I'm all in. It was just it was a complete alien experience, but I fell in love with it. Absolutely fell in love with it.
It is quite invigorating, isn't it? Because I did the same quite recently. I got a membership for iRacing, and I started in it was my first race was a Formula V, and I was so bad I got disqualified. But the thing was, people were banging into me, and I was avoiding other people, and then I ended up hitting somebody else's wheel. And I catapulted over the thing. And it was hilarious to watch, although I was fuming at the time. And then somebody else hit me after I'd already crashed and stopped. They came along and they hit me. And then that was so many points away that I got disqualified from my first ever race on the iRacing. But it is because it's like an on-off switch, isn't it? The brakes. You suddenly see all of a sudden that this lock up straight away. But there is something that just keeps you going back for another run. Now, eventually, I suppose you kind of get used to it and you start getting better. But did it take you a little while to adapt to the different type of driving that you have to do on iRacing?
Oh, massively. Yeah, absolutely massively. And when I flick between Gran Turismo and iRacing, there's such a difference. I find iRacing so much more responsive. But, you turn a little bit and the car's gone. With Gran Turismo, you sort of turn a lot, then it moves. But the biggest difference, as you said, was the braking. I mean, I don't know if you've tried you wait till you get to the GTEs where there's no ABS. You tap the brake, you're locked up, you're in the back of someone in front of you. That's really interesting. When you get to the big boy stuff, the GT3s and the GTEs and the multi-class racing, that's where it really comes alive for me.
Yeah, because it is quite fun. I bought the Ferrari GT3 car, and a couple of weeks ago they were at the Nürburgring. It wasn't Nürburgring. It was the German, Hockenheim. That's what it was. And that was really good. And to be fair, I didn't do too badly because I still felt, it was a fixed series, which is quite good. So everyone has the same car. But it just took me a little while to get used to how much curb you can use, and because sometimes they're quite strict on track limits and things like that.
Yes.
But it was great fun, and then I did skip barber as well. We did a bit of skip barber, and they're quite fun. But I did my first multi-class race just yesterday, and it was in the saloon car. It was an American one, so you had a Cadillac, or you're in a Kia, rear-wheel drive Kia Optima or something with about 400 horsepower. And it was kind of lethal. But it was at Oulton Park, and the first few laps I thought I can't even get the car around the corner. it was that final corner I just kept spinning or running wide. So it took me about 20 minutes to try and get a clean lap.
I love the variety, Hugh, that you're doing here. I literally just go GT3 at Grand Prix tracks. You know, that's me, and you're off at Alton Park in a Cadillac, or you're doing Formula V, or you're doing Skip Barber. I don't know how you do it. I don't know.
Well, that's probably why I don't do it very well. But I love thought I have to have a go in that, and I ended up buying I think I bought a Formula Renault, and I also bought one of an SCC single seater, which is even worse brakes than the Formula V. So it was just, you can go forward really quickly and really easily, but try and slow down and then nothing happens, or it just locks up and you just go straight off. And the thing is, in real life, I've driven a Formula Vauxhall Lotus many years ago.
Oh, really?
And it had really good brakes, although it was really hard. The brake pedals solid, but it didn't lock up like that. So I thought, how can this be? iRacing's spending all that money, getting all this detail, and then when you try and hit the brakes, it just locks up. It's an interesting one.
I think one thing that you will find, I think the difficulty with it as well is probably the brake that you've got at the moment with the G29 brake, because it's a linear brake, isn't it? It's one that you can push really far. With when you get to a load cell and you're moving you're moving your brake sort of like that much, you can have so much more control because you're just doing it with tiny little fractions. And I think that will probably open it up quite a lot, because if I went back to the G29 brake, I'm sure I would have exactly the same issues. I would be going straight on, not stopping too early, going straight on. I would be doing the whole shebang. So I definitely think that would increase kind of the enjoyment if you ever find your way into a load cell.
Yes, that is my next step, because everyone's telling me that's what to do. And I was fortunate enough to have a go on Thea's sim rig when it was her party down in London a few months back. And she had a new sim rig all built up, and it had a really good solid brake pedal. And immediately you just had the feel of how to brake. It was so much more comfortable and just so much better, more predictable how to slow the car down, which was great. But I had my wife nagging at me saying, "Come on, man, grow up, get off that machine. You're only allowed a small shot." So I couldn't have a proper go to really kind of get used to it. We were on a bit of a short time scale, but it was great fun. So what's been one of the biggest highlights of the year? Obviously, you've got your youngest son now. Okay, that's a big one there for you.
So outside of that, as I say, just still kind of being here, to be honest with you. The channel went through sort of a bit of a lull where it wasn't top of my priority. Obviously, we had all the COVID stuff, which was another challenge for us all. Really, it's just kind of staying relevant, really, to be honest with you, is something to celebrate for me, to be honest, because I always say it on my streams, I don't quite understand, and it sounds ridiculous me even saying it's the appeal of myself. I don't know, I don't get it. I'm just me. So for people to watch and to be interested, and even people like yourself wanting to talk to me, and people in chat wanting to see you talk to me, it's still rather alien to me, even all these years later. So it's just a constant highlight, to be honest with you, to be able to do this, and because I'll be doing it off camera, but to do it on camera and work with brands like Fanatec and SimLab and all and Rain Gaming and stuff, it's just a bit of a dream, to be honest. I think I'm going to wake up sometime and think, wow, that what could have been. But no, it's a constant highlight, and I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
Because you're certainly seen as one of the big kind of British players out there on the kind of sim racing channels, because we've got Super GT, we've got the Tidleys, the K25s, and the Ollie and so on, but you're in there. But you were one of the first ones in there, alongside Super GT, because you've been doing it for quite a few years now. And if there are the pillars of sim racers that we all follow, you're definitely right up there in the founding fathers of sim racing. Of there, because you went out there, you had your goal to get up to S plus, and you did it, and you've got your marketplace. You've found your niche in there, and so people like watching your streams. Especially because you're very honest, and I think I was watching one of your videos where you gave a place back because you'd had a site coming together with somebody, and I was like, I wouldn't do that. I would be much more on the way down the highway. But it was, but you kind of show a very honest looking. If that happens, you're very polite.
I wouldn't have got that. And to be honest, that probably happens quite a lot, because if I don't feel I would have got that place, then I'll just give it back, because I don't see any value in it. If I come first because I've rammed everyone out of the way, I would just feel like I haven't really achieved anything, if you like. I feel like I've cheated. But I think my kind of niche, if you like, is I always try and be honest. I always try and, because I'm working full time like everybody else. There's only a few people, who do this thing full time, who are lucky enough to do this thing full time. I'm just like everybody else, yes, I've got a few toys that I'm very, very lucky to have. But outside of that, I'm working 9 till 5 like everyone else. Then we're doing the family stuff, we're doing, all the other things that we need to do. Then we settle down in our spare time and we go racing. And to even, hang with any of these people who are, very, very good at this game that I find myself in races with, I just love the challenge of it all. Just absolutely. If I can close the laptop at work, get the kids in bed, asleep, bathed in bed, have dinner with my wife, then, rather than watching EastEnders and all the other garbage she watches, I can come upstairs and, mix it with some of the best on the game. That's good enough for me. That's all I want. That's all. And I think it's quite relatable, because I think a lot of people have the same struggle, They could be so much better, but they haven't got the time because they've got other responsibilities.
And that's why I have to do this at 9 o'clock, because by the time you get kids to bed and sorted out, and by the time I get kind of studio links out at 8:30 is the earliest I can usually do that, knowing that the kids will not ram through the door. Say,
I hear you 100%. Yeah, I hear 100%. An hour ago, I was reading 10 Little Pirates and Dear Zoo to my youngest, and just praying that he goes to bed, so I could do this. But we're all soldiers of the same struggle, I think, aren't we? Apart from the few.
Yeah, well, I think what's so nice about sim racing is that, we've got all the guys in the chat here. We've got Mike, who's just joined Mike Rogers Racing. We've got Pagan Ant. We've got Rue. I'm trying to think all the people that I can see quickly. We've got Sean, Henry Burnell, who won the photo tile a few weeks ago. We've got Racer 14 GLR. We've got lots of guys in there, guys and girls in the chat, which is fantastic. And I will get to your questions very, very soon. But what's so nice is that there's quite a few of us who are in that, let's just say, in our middle ages, gone through a midlife crisis or two. And what's so nice is that with sim racing, we can all support each other and enjoy, and then also take part, because we might do a lobby or things like that. How have you found your community? Because it's grown. 30,000 subscribers is fantastic. How do you find keeping up with your community? Is it something that is quite hard, or has it become easier?
Yeah, it blows my mind. Even to have someone describe it as a community, my own community. I can't keep up with it, to be honest with you. That's why I try and limit it. So we no longer have a Discord, because I just couldn't do it any justice. All these amazing people were in here, and I wasn't there. It was really, really odd. So I did actually get rid of that and just directed people to my Instagram and my Twitter, and I just try and be as active as I can with my YouTube comments. But even that's very, very difficult to stay on top of. But and I just felt, with the Discord thing, that's not me. I've got one for the channel members, because I feel like I owe them to do something a little bit more for their incredible, OTT generosity, quite frankly. So something I wouldn't normally do. But in terms of Discords and things, that's just not kind of me, and I don't think I was being honest to myself. And I know Steve Super GT kind of did the same thing. Once you get a little bit too big, it kind of runs away with itself, and you feel like the outsider. So,
no, that's
yeah.
it, isn't it? I love having my Discord as well because it's great to be able to put the community news out there and talk to people. But it's nice when people are talking away amongst themselves when you're not there too, which is great. But it's all good now. I have to mention this one. Rob W488 has said, as a fellow Dacia driver and sim racer, has joined the Discord. Now he's I've got to see 2 Dacias now. Talk about having to change your car to go through a recession. But we decided with the crazy prices of new cars, we got a ridiculous price for our second-hand one, so we bought Dacias. It's always good to know there's people who are budget conscious who are in the channel there as well. But I was going to say, Rory, what kind of car do you drive? Is it something fast and furious?
So I used to have. So when I was talking about this on stream actually last night, before I met Erin, so in 2014, I got my first good job, and I thought, right, I'm going to treat myself, and I got myself a 53 plate. I think it must have been 2008 at the time, so it's about 5 years old. Or no, would that made sense? No, 2018, whatever it was. It was 5 years old. It was a Porsche Boxster S Sport. It was the 3.4 litre manual. I absolutely loved it. And I think I've got some pictures of it on my Instagram. Had that, met my wife, then had my wings clipped a little bit because I had to think of other things like buying houses and all this sort of stuff. But our cars at the moment, so the wife, much to my dismay, has got a Fiat 500X 1.6 diesel. It's horrendous. It drives like a tractor, sounds like a tractor. It's no good at all. I'm trying to get rid of it, but who am I to tell her what to drive? And then we have a family car, which I had more input in. We've got a BMW X3, so we've got that's a 18 plate, but we've just actually ordered a new car. But I did sneak in because you got 3 options with the X3 because I wanted a big family car that was a bit sporty. Yeah. So we got the M Sport one, and it was the 3 litre that we got. I sneaked in the 3 litre because she didn't understand what 2, 3, or 4 litre was. And I thought 4 litres a bit much. She was okay with it until we got the road tax bill for 450 quid, which, to be honest, actually took me by surprise a little bit as well. And I thought, I styled it out. I said, yeah, they're all this much. They're all this much. But road tax will soon be a thing of the past because we've just actually ordered, I think it was about 6 weeks ago, the BMW iX3. So the exact same car as ours, but completely electric. So we're going with that, and that arrives in February actually, which is quite.
I suppose it's about 5 or 6. A good 4 months away thereabouts. So 3-4 months away. Oh well, that'll be quite a machine. So if you've got a driveway, you can and a charge point, then that should.
So that's the next challenge. I've been quite lazy with it, to be honest with you. I've had other things to crack on with, but yes, I've got to find how to charge this thing, which she keeps saying to me. So Rory, how are you going to charge this? And also, I think there's a bit of a shortage, so I need to get my backside into gear on that one. Yeah,
you should be able to get a charger if as long as you can put it somewhere. So you're not I'm on a residential street. So it's no use for me because I can't park necessarily outside my house. So I'm kind of stuck for that one. But hence the Dacia diesels, and they don't come any cheaper than that. But so that's the way. But no, I suppose if you've got the space and it'll be a great car.
And and what it does is also, and what it does is it allows me to have the conversation about the 500X because I want to get rid of that. I want to get I never was interested in old cars, but I can see how people do it now. So when I was younger, when I first started driving, the cars to have were a Golf GTI, a Citroen Saxo VTS, or a Clio 172 Cup, right? Yeah. So I'm going to try, and they're horrendously unsafe, but I'm going to try and get rid of the Fiat 500X and say, right, I'll have a run around that. I'll drive to the station, or I'll drive to golf, or whatever. And I'm going to try and get one of those, maybe a 172 or something along those lines. I fancy one of those ones, to be honest.
Yeah, some great
pocket
cars.
Rocket. Yeah.
Especially some of the machinery nowadays. I think some car prices have gone through the roof, but there's some other great cars that are quite cheap. I used to have a BMW, a 540 Touring. It was the estate.
Very nice.
My old friend Jonathan's car. They'd had it in the family for a long time, but it was a great machine, really fast and fun. But now I think it's maybe still possible. I mean, I've seen like Porsche Boxsters at about 6.5, 7 grand that are quite old. But if they're at all kind of well maintained, they might be all right. Or even like some of the Mercedes S-Class coupes the V8 and V10 or V12. Again, for similar money, you just have to shop around a wee bit.
Yeah, my dad got the would it be the SLK? No, what's the big one? The one that Clarkson had.
There's the
SL, was it the SL?
Yeah, the SL. Yeah, the SL is the one. It's really nice, kind of convertible.
Yeah, so he had one of those. He had one of those a few years ago, and it was just. I remember Clarkson had one, the AMG one, and it was just beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I've been getting old SL. I love watching these videos called the barn finds, and they go to like.
You were saying,
yeah, the old abandoned junkyards, and there was one done by the Bearded Explorer about a year or two ago, and he found this abandoned junkyard somewhere down south, in the middle of an old field, and the woods had kind of grown over it, and there was like 500 SLs, like the old, like from the 80s, and actually remarkably good condition, 3-door Range Rovers, the original Range Rover concept. There were about 7 of them, and amazing stuff, and you just your eyes were watering with this stuff, because you think, any of those you would want to have. Audi Quattros,
Quattros,
Ford Escort RS 2000s, all the kind of amazing kind of iconic cars you get on a Seat Corsa and things like that. It's definitely there's some amazing machines that kind of, they're the things that you grew up, as you say, wanting to drive. I remember when there was a craze with the Clio 172. They were great cars. I think that's probably the one I would go for out of those.
I would go for the Cup out of it. I wouldn't get the full fat one, as they call it. I would get the Cup, and then even then you can get the 182, or you can get the 182 Trophy, which is like a lava orange version of it. It's completely stripped out. It was really nice, and it was. But the problem is, it was limited run, so it's still about 17 grand. To get one, which is I can't justify that to get that one over the line. But yeah, that sort of era, I'm all in if we can get rid of that bloody Fiat 500.
I'm sure you'll get rid of that Fiat. I'm sure it's not that bad.
Sorry if you're watching, darling. By the way, I know she was watching. So, and I did say to her the other day, it's okay, you can drive what you want. I don't mind, but really, it hurts my feelings.
One of the best cars I ever drove was the new Fiat 500X with a 1-liter turbo petrol. It was a completely different car. But it was really like a real proper Italian car. Zingy engine, lovely gearbox, and it was quick, and it was great fun. But
doesn't sound like our one.
No, the diesel might not be as good as that. But no, it's quite fun. Now that we've had all of our crazy car questions here, and quickly before I go to the chat's questions. Oh yes, we did get asked by one of the chat is, what's in that mug that you're hiding away there?
It's a cup of tea. It's a cup of tea that's getting ever colder. So I've been waiting for breaks to swig it before it gets all too cold. But no, it's very nice.
That's the thing. Now, for everyone who's watching tonight, especially from the guys from our community here, I've got Rory's link for his YouTube channel in the description below. So if you've not already subbed to his channel, please go over and sub to his channel after you've been watching the show tonight, because he's got over 30,000 subscribers, but he's always looking for more, I'm sure. So it'd be always fantastic. And here is my friend Jonathan that said, Hugh always recommends Fiats, but never buys them, which is absolutely true. I do love them, but I never buy them myself. But,
so you like them enough, but not to have one yourself.
I was that close to buying a Tipo station wagon a couple of months ago, but we just didn't quite do it. But so that was the thing. But yeah. So I'm going to now ask you about GT7, because of course this is the latest, coming out March the 22nd. What do you think it's going to be like? Are you excited?
Yeah. Well, I've got mixed feelings about it, to be honest, because I've never actually been through the transition of a game. As a content creator now. So, Gran Turismo Sport's all I've ever known. And it's all I've ever loved, to be honest with you, in terms of this whole YouTube world. And I'm a bit nervous about leaving that behind, as much as it's got its horrendous faults, like its penalty system, the fact we do the same races every week. It was sort of like updated in bits and bobs, and, it's only got daily race A, B, and C. I'm going to miss it. I'm really going to miss it when it goes, and I think I'm going to keep hold of it, definitely. But the stuff on Gran Turismo 7 looks incredible. The things for me that that I'm most excited about is the day, and I know Kirith Cart covered it in one of his videos, one of his GT7 videos that do really, really well. Day-night transition and dynamic weather. They are the two things for me that is just going to close the gap to the likes of iRacing and all this sort of stuff. I mean, they're never going to have damage because, you know, these car companies don't like their cars looking wrecked and all this sort of stuff. But if we can get those in, it's going to be an absolute game changer, and it's just going to be incredible. I'm still only kind of interested in the online stuff. I can't do racing against AI. No matter how good it is, I can't do it. I need to go, you know, mano a mano with humans. I need to outsmart humans or, you know, react to other humans. I can't. So that sort of side of it, you know, like the tuning garage and all that, it's great for nostalgia. But for me, I will still be doing, you know, the online GT Sports style type stuff for sure. Yeah.
Yes, I know what you mean about you'll miss GT Sport because it has become an incredibly iconic game. I think as you say, it has its faults, but I mean, it's been massive for so many YouTubers. It's been a huge game changer, even for their careers, isn't it? And, you know, for their hobbies to have become such a big part of their life and communities that they've built through this game. So, yeah, leaving it behind and going on to PS5 and getting a new Gran Turismo 7 is going to be interesting. But I say, because you like doing the endurance side as well, don't you? You're quite keen on doing the longer. Are you hoping there might be a few longer races for the kind of multiplayer that will be coming?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've heard a couple of bits that would suggest that's probably not going to be the case, which is quite disappointing. Because I think that's one thing that Polyphony Digital could do much, much better is listen to their community, and actually, you know, we could improve this game for them. You know, I've offered multiple times and tweeted multiple times to say, look, I will go and do all this sort of stuff for you, like tell you what races people want, what combinations that people want for the next 10 weeks. We'll tell you which ones we want on daily A, B, and C. Ones we don't want to go to Alsace Village in a 200 brake horsepower car. Nobody, well, you might like that because I know you do daily A race A sometimes, but everyone I know is not interested. And I don't want to do Fuji in Group 4. I just don't want to. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm done.
Especially the long version. The short version is slightly is a bit more kind of you can kind of just about cope with that. But that horrible chicane just slows everything down. But we've got another special guest in the chat. Would you believe we've got Kirith? Kirith Cart has joined the chat and has caused a stir already. So I better mention one of his questions. Now, here we are. What are Rory's thoughts on PG Motorsport?
So this is this guy. This is like the Momos of 2022, right? Or 2021 or whatever year we're in. I don't really know him. I haven't come across this guy. I haven't. Apparently, he's a right nightmare. I've seen a few videos on him or her. I don't know who it is, what it is.
I think it's a he.
But
I think it's a he.
But I can only have love for one dirtiest driver, and that will always be Momos. Always. Momos is the original, and he will remain the best. So these imitators like PG Motorsport, that Greek guy from the other video, they don't compare to the original, the OG, which is Momos.
I've actually got PG Motorsport as a friend on PSN. I think when I was going through all the bits, I must have ticked the thing, and he friended me back. So I don't know whether
I thought you were going to say you've got him on the show next week. I was going to be like, oh no.
No, to be fair, Kirith got a coup there, an absolute. That was a real kind of scoop to get Momos on his video, which was fantastic. But it was certainly if I could get PG Motorsport, that would be something. But Kirith did a great job to get him on an interview as well. And Kirith has then said, "Can you please press Rory on whether he is indeed PG Motorsport? I've never seen them in the same room."
Well, to be fair, he's got a point, hasn't he? I could well be Kirith. I could well be. You'll have to find out when you interview him, I suppose, Kirith.
That's it. Is he going to try?
I guess. Right. Well, that's his thing, isn't it? He's trying to step on your toes with this interview stuff.
I know.
Kirith, you need to leave it. You need to leave it to the pros, my friend. You need to leave it to the pros.
I'm going to have to take a lawsuit out to stop him doing that. He's going raining on my parade here. But, now we've got a great question from Adama Banana. It is, Mr. Rory, what food will you not put on your car?
What did he say?
What food? I'll show you.
What food? Oh, okay. What does he mean in terms of liveries? Does he mean? I guess he means liveries. Yeah, I do. I am partial to a confectionery based livery. I don't know where that come from. I think it's like NASCAR. I remember Jeff Gordon's one that was always. I think it was even DuPont or whatever it's called. But there was an M&M one I think that I saw that was amazing. I like the old DeWalt one. That was pretty cool. I don't know what I wouldn't put on there, to be honest. I mean, I used to be quite picky with it and only put stuff on there that I would eat, like the KFC Lexus. That was quite an iconic one that I used for a long time. But to be honest, I would put, if it looks good, I will go with anything. If it's like massively on brand, like I like the Subway ones. I actually got a load of grief for my Ben & Jerry's one. I don't know if you've seen the Ben & Jerry's one, Hugh.
Yeah.
But what it's got to is people think I align myself with the company's values. Now, apparently they're quite a woke company, these Ben & Jerry's. So I got a load of grief in the comments from someone for using a Ben & Jerry's livery because it means that I completely agree with their views on veganism and all this sort of, and saving the planet and all this sort of stuff. So maybe I have to stop that because people are thinking my bit of fun are political statements when I can assure you they're not.
No, it's funny. I think that's a great thing. I mean, one of my friends did. I'm trying to because I've had many people who have helped me do libraries in the past, but I got a KFC library done as well, which was fantastic. And of course, my kind of joke PSN that I sometimes use is "Fat Man in the Cheap Sim," and so one of the guys put on it. The reason that's KFC, it's so finger looking good. That's why I'm a fat man in a cheap sim. So it was. So yeah, you can have lots of fun with all these different libraries. Do you have plans on doing what would be your ideal one if you could do it? Anything at all? What kind of library would you quite like?
I don't know, to be honest. I'm such I'm rubbish with it, and I'm very lucky that people actually want to do things. Some people actually do them for me specifically, like the KFC one. But I think, to be honest, the one that I'm running at the moment is my favourite one in the McLaren. So I don't know if you've seen it, Hugh, but some people in the chat may have seen it. It's the old West McLaren livery. Yeah. But do you remember when they got banned from using West because it was a cigarette? So they had Kimmy, I think they had David on the side. So Rico Suavius, who does my liveries for me, has put Rory on the side of it. And it looks absolutely amazing, and I love it. So it's completely unique, and I think that, to be honest, is my favourite one. Doesn't get any better than that.
Absolutely, I know that does look really, really good. There's a funny comment here saying that Hugh is aligned with KFC's values: eat chicken and chips. So it was like and make money at the same time. I should have had a KFC franchise. That was the big mistake.
Or a chicken cottage one if it's a bit easier. Do they have chicken cottage up there?
I've not seen one here, to be fair.
Or one of the many chicken, and then you can put whatever word you want afterwards, and that can be a variation.
No, that's the thing. Now, Keirith has asked the question: what is Rory's favourite book or serialisation?
What's my favourite book or serialisation? I don't know. All I can say is I don't actually read books. I like audiobooks. I like books. It sounds terrible. I like to listen to sort of podcasts and stuff. So I like have things actually read to me. And I'll watch TV shows wherever it's possible. So the likes of, like apparently Game of Thrones was a very, very good book. But we just watch the TV instead, or have it read to you, I think.
It's much easier. Now, one of the ones that they've come back with here said, Jonathan said, Dixie Chicken in Edinburgh. It was free botulism with every order. No. They were notorious for making people feel ill after.
Yes.
That now Diakobab has joined the chat. He was the chap who made my KFC library. So it said, but he's just popped in to say hello. So tell me, what do you think has changed in the last year? Looking at all these big games that have been coming out, like as we haven't actually talked to set, of course, a competition either. But what would you say are the standout points for things like iRacing compared to GT Sport?
I think the no frills. I think the driving standard actually it sounds. I don't want to alienate anyone who plays GT Sport, but I just think there's a higher level on iRacing. To be quite honest with you, the ceiling is much higher. I am nowhere near. I might sneak into a top split at some point. If I do the last race, a race nobody wants, and I'm at my highest DR ever on Gran Turismo Sport, I might sneak into the top split. With with iRacing, you have not got a hope. Some of the guys that are up there. We've got the actual race drivers, which is, another thing as well. So you've got your Max Verstappens, you've got a lot of American ones, you've got a lot of German guys who do the touring cars, and you've got a guy called Max Benecke, who is the first guy to get over 10,000 iRating.
Wow.
To put it into perspective, mine hovers around 2. And I'm an A+ driver on GT Sport, which is the top level. So I think there's a guy called do you know who Rubler is? Rubler? He's the guy. I think he's. So he was Nicholas Rubler. He was a GT Sport World finalist, I believe. I think he's about 6K iRating. Wow. So that kind of gets he's halfway up the chain, and I think he was about 5,000 iRating at his peak. So. That's kind of strong. That endorses kind of what I'm saying around the standard, to be honest. But that's also because the barrier of entry is so much higher on iRacing. You can't just pick up a controller and away you go. The minimum setup you need is a wheel and pedals. So that stops, my 14-year-old nephew getting on and ramming everybody on my account. That stops that because you need to go through everything. And also, I think the standout as well with iRacing is just the variety of this stuff and the immersiveness. I just think the difference in some tracks. So, for example, the difference with Le Mans on iRacing to Le Mans on Gran Turismo is just worlds apart. Same with the Nürburgring. Just incredible. I love the challenge of it, to be honest.
Those are two tracks I haven't actually tried yet on iRacing, but even I thought it just looks really sharp when you watch like a replay on iRacing. It's very, very good, and all the sounds can sometimes be variable, but they're still quite reasonable. And you get the feeling that some of these cars are quite tricky as well. They don't react. You've got to be ready to get snap oversteer, understeer, the whole kind of thing.
And you need to, because if you don't correct that, you're in the barrier and it's over. On Gran Turismo, it doesn't matter because you get snap out. It doesn't matter. You just bounce off the wall. You're still going. So there is there's trepidation there.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. I mean, I have to admit, Formula V or the Mazdas, the Mazda MX-5s, you get some great races with them. And we had Dave Cam on a few weeks ago, and I remember watching his video, and he was saying that he basically stopped, let everybody go through the first few corners, and then he caught up. And after about 2-3 corners, he'd already gone past about 4 people. Because literally all you saw was smoke, and people had spun off, and then he ended up doing pretty well.
Yeah, so he's great. Yeah, he's great, Dave. I love his content. It's really, really good.
Yeah. Now here's a good question for you from Koloff S. Callan. He said, "Can you ask Rory why he never smiles while racing?"
See, Koloff he's always got this all the time. He's always on me for this. I don't know. I think it's a nerves thing, to be honest with you. I feel such a responsibility. Again, saying this on stream last night, I feel such a responsibility to put on like a show because I think it just goes down to the whole, not quite sure why people watch me and all that sort of stuff. So I get incredibly nervous. If I'm laughing and joking, then I'm going to crash. That's it. I try and be as focused as possible, and I expect so much out of myself because this is my hobby. I want to be the best at it, or the best I can with the time that I've got. It's just in my nature to not be very happy unless I'm winning. Really, But the phrase is, I hate to lose more than I love to win. I think is the phrase. So yeah, that's why I'm not smiling.
I think it is quite tricky. It is tricky though, because people make that mistake as well. If you look at a comment and then you just look at it at the wrong time, and then takes your eye off the goal, and you're coming into a corner or something, and you can go wide or just not get it right, or worse, it can really ruin your whole race. And that's you have to learn how to be able to respond. And sometimes you're going to go quiet as you're concentrating, as to have it all to make it work as well as you can.
Absolutely. Because people are there mainly to see good results, and good racing. So, that directly does not that's not compatible with me looking like this at the chat all the time. Because I look at the chat and then I'm in the wall and then it's the end of the race. So yeah, there's a lot of concentration involved. I would say that's another thing as well. Is I don't often smile when I'm concentrating.
Well, I think that's quite normal, to be fair. Now, Sean, who's always asking controversial questions, he says here, similarly, he says you owe him a Fanatec wheel. He says that you can't remember offering him before, but he said he's going to buy you a round of golf if you give him a Fanatec wheel.
That's absolutely fine. I will see you at, what's the one up in Scotland? The Trump one. What's the most expensive one?
Oh, the Trump Turnberry is really good. It's a great hotel, but I've been there a few times. It's a fantastic hotel.
That's absolutely fine, Sean. It will probably exceed the cost of the Fanatec wheel I'm willing to part with to give to you. So that's absolutely fine. I'll see you up there. If you can get my flights as well, I'd appreciate that.
Perhaps we could all meet up there. That'd be great.
I'll be all over that. Yeah.
And he's also asking, why is it always Sean's fault when something goes wrong on one of your live streams? Seemingly that's his query.
Just any excuse really to blame Sean for most things, really. I don't know if it's me blaming Sean. I think Sean is blamed by most of the others in the chat, to be honest with you. I'm too busy concentrating and being miserable to sort of interact. But I think Sean brings that on himself. Again, that's his own fault. So there we go. His point proven, I suppose.
That's the thing. Now, Jonathan has asked a question in French, and I have absolutely no clue as to what he's saying. So, Jonathan, you need to write it in English. Now, Philip Horton has said, can you ask Rory why Porsche wheel rim is his favourite?
I will show you why. Look at the state of this thing, right? Hopefully this thing won't come off and smash me in the face. Hang on. This is why. Look how beautiful this thing is. Nice. That is why. I just look at all the buttons that I don't use and all this sort of stuff. It's got a little dial there that I don't know what it says. It's just absolutely incredible. It's leather as well, which is cool. It's leather as well, which is nice. I just absolutely. And Porsche is one of my favourite brands. So it's like I'm driving the real thing, really.
Yeah. I mean, that does look really, really good. When you see them inside on the real racing, it does look very, very similar, which is fantastic. That's the thing. Now, here is a good question from Smoker Mike 77. Rory, do you find it hard or get stressed being so honest and forthcoming with your content when there is such a large amount of harsh criticism out there?
No, I used to get worried about what people said, but then I've become I like to think I'm very self-aware. I talk about this a lot as well. I am what I am. I am what I am, and I've been true to kind of myself through a lot of things that happen, just generally, really. So it's just in my nature to be honest about this sort of stuff. And if I'm not me, if you try and be someone you're not, especially on YouTube, you're going to get found out pretty quickly, especially when you're doing things like live streaming as well.
Yeah.
You knocked your water over like I always do.
Yeah, that's the one. And I thought when I picked it up, I bet I'm going to knock this over. But it's fine. It's all right.
So yeah, it's just a case of, that's me really. So I don't find it too stressful. The biggest thing that I find stressful, the biggest sort of things that I have a problem with, I worry about if I'm doing an iRacing stream and I crash at the start of the race and then we have to wait an hour for the next race. That terrifies me. Absolutely terrifies me, because it makes me think, right, I've got to keep these people entertained for an hour and I'm really boring. So I don't really know how I'm going to do this. And I feel like I'm going to let them down. So that's where I kind of get stressed. But no, as you know, it's just me really. and that's it. That's all I can say. So I don't really get too worried about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean,
and sorry, the positives. For every negative comment I get about 20 positives. So from all the amazing people out there. So I just concentrate on that, to be honest, because the negatives are often more about the person who's writing it than the other. Because I have never written a negative comment about anything ever. Like the term troll or whatever, I don't really understand what it means, but it would take a lot for me to I'd have to be in a pretty bad place to watch someone who's put something together for free and go, oh, you're this, you're that, you're that. It would say more about the person behind the keyboard for me. So I almost feel sorry for them rather than worrying about what they say.
No, that's a good approach to take, isn't it? Because I mean, it's like me. I just try and be enthusiastic because I do love gaming. I love the motorsport aspect. I love interviewing people like yourself who are doing really well at it, who have built their way, gone from started at where everyone starts and gone up to the top, and I've done some amazing races and things like that. So because it's great fun and it's a wonderful motorsport is just an incredible thing. And I think what I love about it, I don't know if you've experienced this yet, but if you do a track day with all that practiced on your sim rig, have you ever found that it's actually helped you on your track day, or perhaps the
I've never done one.
Driving? Oh, you've got to do one.
I've never ever done one. Never, ever. I've always thought if this thing ever blew up to the point where I was financially free, I would enter myself into the British Touring Car Championship as a privateer. That is like the goal, and I'd be in like some horrendous iconic car. Like the cars I'm thinking of is like Rickard Rydell's Volvo Estate. That's the sort of car we're talking about, or like a Dacia Duster or something like that. So something like iconic. And I would be all over that. So
you could take your wife's Fiat 500, just get rid of the diesel.
That's it. Yeah, we could drop it. We could do all this sort of stuff. I could smash it to pieces. It would be great. But yeah, that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah. I remember watching that when it touring cars. I had the video thing of the year. That was back in the 90s when he had his Volvo Estate, his 850. It was the one with the 5-cylinder engine, wasn't it? That made that lovely noise. But the T5, is that a T5 or a T6,
something like that. But I would definitely going back to somebody else's question about the I think it was Adam's question about the food. It would definitely be heavily food liveried up. Definitely. Maybe Hugh, you could sponsor it with your Chicken Cottage franchise. Yeah. We could have a Chicken Cottage Dacia Duster in the BTCC.
Giving them exactly the right image and that they want for the.
That's it.
Yeah. We'll have to look at that one. Now, Jonathan has finally written this question in English, and he's written it about how many times so I would notice it. It is this: where does Rory see his channel in 5 years' time? And can you make a living out of sim racing?
Oh, where do I see it in 5 years? I don't know. I'd just be happy if I'm still here, to be honest, like as in still doing this thing and still doing what I enjoy. I think I've got through the most difficult part of having the newborn kids. That was a real test. So I didn't know if I was going to come out the other side of that, because you see so many content creators come and go and disappear. I just want to still be here and still doing what I'm doing. In terms of making a living out of it, there's only a couple who have, and we all know them. So, Jimmy's done it. Steve's done it. I don't really know anybody else who's done it, to be honest with you. To comfortably live. I've always said this. I would be uncomfortable. Well, if you go to work, like we all go to work 9 till 5, if you had a good day at work or if you have a bad day at work, it's fine because you're being paid. Your rent's being paid. Your mortgage is being paid. Food's on the table. That's it. Mm-hmm. If you make a bad video and it tanks, the algorithm just, I would not allow for my family or, my home or anything like that to be dictated by something I don't understand. So for me, unless it gets absolutely massive, because the amount of views and the amount of subscribers and all, not subscribers, but, channel members and donations and all that you need to even compete with a minimum wage salary, it's massive. It is absolutely massive. Anybody who creates content, Hugh, and you'll know from, you know, if you look at your monetization on some of your videos, it's not, you're not doing it for the money. I know I'm not.
I'm zero. I'm not at 1,000 yet, so I can't quite.
Well, there you go. So. Well, there you go. Sorry, it doesn't get much better, I can assure you, unless you go up to Steve or Jimmy level. You know, it's a big old ask, I would say.
Yeah, I think because I mean that's the thing. I mean it's a big marketplace, but a lot of people watch the big guys that are up there, aren't they? And that's the thing. But I think it is quite hard. I know it also depends what kind of advertising you get as well, isn't it? And what you accept on your channel and what kind of ones that they put on your channel and so on. But you've hit 30,000 and growing, which is great. And it's great to see a lot of the British guys getting up there and getting in, you know, really claiming a good title. As being, because you might not be doing it full time, but it's very professional, and people really enjoy it, which is good. And I think to hit those big goals, I know you were trying to get to 30,000 for quite a while, and then all of a sudden it just seems to have really come along. You must feel quite good, or at least relieved.
That's exactly. That is the exact. So I was on 29,000 for probably 6 months. There was a couple of things that went wrong. For some reason, I clicked listed on. Oh, unlisted. I listed a bunch of unlisted streams. It basically, and you may remember this, your feed one day would have just been full of my old live streams, and that I lost about 300 subscribers in one day, and then it kind of, and then obviously Max came along, so my kids came along, and Freddie and Max came along, so it wasn't my top priority. So you don't make content, regularly, and it just slams you. Going back to the previous point about not wanting to leave the algorithm to decide your fate. That's exactly what happened. So we plateaued for a long time. I was worried about, becoming irrelevant, people don't like me and all this sort of stuff, and you get self-conscious. But yeah, so relief is massive, but you've got to put it into context, and I have to stay on top of it, because you can't always, there's no end to this. If you're always chasing the next subscriber, the next view, there's no end. There's no end. And you've got to be like those bank adverts. It's like, remember the people who are here. Don't worry about the people who aren't. Worry about the people who are here, and the rest will look after itself, I think. Because 30,000 is still 30,000 more than I would ever imagine would be interested watching me do something I love. So, you've got to just keep it into context and keep a lid on it, I think, and be realistic with this sort of stuff. Otherwise, it would just drive you nuts. It would drive you nuts.
No, I think it's true. I mean, because that's the thing that I thought that I've seen a lot of new drivers come along, or new streamers, and they hit 1,000 subs from starting in January, and then by May or June they're at 1,000. And I'm thinking I've been going for about a year and a half, 2 years, and I'm still on 500 odd. So you're in your own unique battle, your own kind of drive and strategy, and then you have to build it as you build it. Isn't it? So that's the thing, and eventually, if you keep going enough, and you do things that people hopefully enjoy watching, then eventually you get there.
And I would also say, the number next to your name means nothing in terms of the quality of your content, like we were speaking about before. Just because you're on 500 odd does not mean I'm 60 times better than you. My content is 60 times better than yours. Steve's got 20 times the amount of subs that I have. Do I, obviously naturally I think, oh, he's much, much better than me for that. But the guy's been doing it for 10 years, and you have to, well, you have to respect that, because it's absolutely crazy for doing it for that long. But, you've just got to be so careful with this sort of stuff, because it's not a knock on anyone. It's so, you have to just, if you actually look at the big guys on YouTube, whatever it is, you can always think about the one video that made them pop. And that's it. Yeah. You can even see it on the likes of Jimmy and Steve's channel. So Steve will openly admit, like, his one was Shameful Rammers. That thing's got 4 million views or something. It's absolute madness. Jimmy's got one where he tried like a £1 million simulator. It's got millions upon millions of views, and then it just snowballs. It just snowballs. So
you need that one great title.
That is what you need, and then you need to sustain. And if you can get eyeballs on your stuff, then and a percentage of them stay. If you scale that up and do it regularly, you'll be fine. But that's the key. Is they say YouTube's a marathon, not a sprint, and that is probably the truest thing, and the truest bit of advice I give to anyone is it's a marathon.
Marathons and people who eat KFC is probably not a good combination. As a contradiction, that might be the one.
Make a good title though, wouldn't it? So
maybe I'll try that then. Maybe I'll try the marathon KFC eater. But there we go. Now, Smoker Mike 77 has said, Rory, thank you for being so humble and honest about everything. You are a gentleman driver, ambassador of the sportsmanship, and overall a great human being.
That's what I mean. That's really kind, Mike, and that's why I don't care about the negative comments, because that one means more to me than 10 million people who say, you're crap, basically, and you're boring and you're rubbish at racing. So that's the sort of stuff that makes me do this sort of thing. So thank you, Mike. I really appreciate it.
It is so nice, though, because I think, and that's the great thing about doing the lobbies and inviting your community to race with you, that you're able to, that you've got this camaraderie as well and friendship. And I think if we were all to meet up now that finally COVID is beginning to ease up a bit, people have been talking about let's have a party or let's have a meet up. Let's all go to Goodwood together and meet up there, or some kind of go to Silverstone or somewhere for a big meeting. And hopefully we can start to do things like that, because I genuinely think it would be a great way to get to know our communities so much better, and be able to enjoy one another and see, shake a hand here and there.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's been a very hard time for a year and a half for a lot of people, and sim racing has helped to fill a huge gap for lots of us to try and offer something and connect to people, which is kind of vital, I think, for your well-being, isn't it? And it's wonderful how that sim racing communities have really been able to thrive, and out of doing the things that we all enjoy doing, racing each other, which is great. But now the Rumar experience has said, Hugh Hatchick, well, the deep fry and batter Mars bars, why not marathon with the Colonel's secret recipe? though now it's called a Snickers meat. That's true, isn't it?
I've actually had a deep fried Mars bar. It was actually really nice.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't in Scotland. It was down in Portsmouth at uni, but yeah, it was really nice. If anyone hasn't had one, I'd definitely endorse getting it.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. What is? I know you've always got a big race coming up, but what have you got? Any kind of big races or endurance races that you're planning over the next wee while?
Yeah, so they're few and far between at the moment because of obviously kids and weekends are. I don't know why iRacing don't have stuff like a 3 hour on a weekend or on a Friday night or something, because I'm sure they must understand their demographics are probably people with families, to be quite honest. So, as I say, weekends are sacred. But the next race that is coming up is the Suzuka 10 Hours, which I think is in 2 weekends' time, which I'm doing with Team Rock. So I'll be doing it with Charlie and Kirith, which I'm really excited about, obviously, because it's Suzuka in GT3s, almost said Group 3, in GT3s, which is right up my street. So I cannot wait to do that because I haven't done it for a long time. And the missus has been out so much that I no longer have the dad guilt. So I often get dad guilt of like, oh, okay, I want to go sit on a rig for 10 hours while she's sitting there with the kids, like they're driving her mad. So I've definitely, she's in arrears. So I'm good. I'm ready to cash that check and go racing at Suzuka, and I cannot wait.
How do you find doing 10 hours, mind you? Because do you do driver swaps, I take it? Is it like a 3 or 4 team? Is that way with Kirith and others? Is it? Or,
with Kirith and Charlie Roscoe, who's Australian. You should get him on your channel. Actually, he's brilliant.
I've heard him. Yeah,
he's brilliant. It's great, to be honest with you, because we do, depending on tyres, it normally works out as when we do a double stint, which is, and a stint's probably about an hour. So, but I've done like a 3 hour stint before where we needed to. But no, I just absolutely love it. I mean, the guys will laugh because I end up like having dinner on stream and all this sort of stuff, and they hear me clinking with the pasta bowl and all. It's just so funny because you can bring them into your life. It's just so funny. But yeah, that's next 2 weeks, and I'm really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Oh, well, that sounds really good. We've got our HHTCR Championship on Saturday. It's going to be the 3rd round, and we've got 2 splits. And for once, I made it into the top split. And nice. It is at your favourite combination, Fuji Short on Group 4. But it's fun. But it's all front drives. It's a front drive series.
Yeah, so I'm not available for that one, Hugh, if you were thinking anything.
But yeah, no, so I thought you were going to spill your water there when I told you.
No.
But yeah, so we've got that on Saturday night at 9:00, which should be great fun. We've got some great drivers. We've got VQR Jack in there as well, who's one of the fastest, quite often gets a top 10 time in the EMEA. So he's taking part in that, and a really great group of drivers, which is good. So we're looking forward to that. Now, one game we haven't really talked about is Assetto Corsa Competizione. Now, is that something that you've tried, or
Yeah, I've tried it. I think it's 90% there. ACC, it's 90% there. There's a couple of key things, and it's sort of like chicken and egg with it, really. I don't think the online stuff is good enough, to be honest with you. I don't think the online experience that you will get with Gran Turismo or iRacing, I just don't think they've got it quite right. The cars, I think, they sound incredible, to be honest with you. The level of detail in there is incredible. I think the variation of tracks is great. The weather, they got dynamic weather. They've got day-night transitions, but they just don't have that online element. And it keeps this competition server thing. I just don't get it. And they should, so Dave Perel obviously has got the sim grid, hasn't he, that he's created. Yeah. That should scream to our Assetto Corsa Competizione, we've got it wrong online, because a different third party are taking, obviously they're using their game, but they're taking people away from their model. It's just absolute madness. So I actually haven't done a competition race because I don't even understand it. It comes around like once an hour, and then sometimes it turns, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know where it is, what it is. So yeah, I've struggled with it, to be honest, and I haven't really touched it since it came out.
Yeah, I've played that since I got my PC. I have played quite a lot of Assetto Corsa Competizione, especially with Thea's Wavy World Tour and things like that. And I have found it quite fun. But as you say, a lot of it's through Discord and private or Discord lobbies that they take you onto that, which is funny because if you go into a random lobby, you don't know what it's like. You go in and say, like, what you've qualified for. And it's usually always Monza, which is a kind of ram fest. This is where you just start at the back and let the carnage kind of continue. But yeah, it is hopefully, I think they're going to redo Assetto Corsa. Seemingly there's another version of that coming out quite soon.
Okay.
And that might help to fix all that side. But whether they'll do a new version of Assetto Corsa Competizione, we'll have to wait and see. But it seems like in the chat, we've got Erid in the chat, who's a big racer on Thea's streams, but they're all talking about chocolate. All I see are comments all about chocolate. It must be because you were talking about having a deep fried Mars bar, and the best one I've seen here is from Jonathan, and he said here that he has a peanut allergy, but he loves Revels, and he said it's like Russian roulette but with chocolate.
Plus also there's a chocolate covered raisin in there as well, so the odds are not good that you're going to get anything particularly nice out of a Revel. I don't often buy them because 2 out of the 5 I don't like. So
I love all Revels.
And coffee's all right. If you're lucky, you get the Malteser. That's the one.
Coffee one.
Just for me, I think with the Revels, right? If I don't like those 3, I may as well. If I'm looking to try and get the Malteser, and I've got 20% chance. If I buy a packet of Maltesers, I've got 100% chance it's going to be a Malteser every time. So I'm good. So I'll just stick with the Maltesers. The Revels are not my thing.
The Revel Malteser looks almost identical to the toffee. So you can pick one of those and you think maybe there's a weight difference. Maybe you can sense the weight difference in it.
Just some Maltesers for me would just be fine.
Now, Forza Troy says, Rory, just wanted to let you know that Ollie has just taken down Ruben's Barrichello. So it must have been there must have been a racing incident. But so I don't know what's happened there. And Sean is saying he's off to bed. He's not very well at the moment. So good night, everyone. But thanks for the show. We hope he feels better soon.
Good night, Hugh.
To have Sean
on the
show. But But yeah, so no, that's the thing. Well, I think we've covered so many different topics. And I suppose it's time now, if you've got any other questions, to put them in the capital so I can make sure. Oh, Jeff Colclough has turned up, which is great to see him. He helped me with my PC and getting it all set up and sorted out. And he says everything is better in a community. And that's definitely true. Definitely true. That so if there could be things that you would like to do in the next week? Well, I know you've talked a little bit about the races, the 10 hour at Suzuka.
Yeah.
What would you like to see, or would there be a kind of ideal race that you would do that you would like to take part in?
Yeah, it comes around every year. The Nürburgring 24-hour on iRacing. That is the race for me. Any of the 24-hour races on iRacing, I love. I would love to because obviously it was not a great time when those were on, so I missed the Spa 24 because I think Max was born like the day before, so I didn't think it was appropriate to go racing.
Sorry, dear. I'm
I'm off. See you later. No, just those really, just to get back into the iRacing specials. I love them. I really do. I think they are literally just such special events. They've nailed them every single time. So yeah, the Nürburgring 24 hours. I think for me, it's the ultimate test in sim racing. I think that one. It doesn't get any more. It doesn't get any better than that for me.
Yeah, it's amazing that the selection of things that you can get, and everyone likes a different track. See, I love Brands Hatch, especially in the GT4s, and we actually did a really good ACC race. It was at Bathurst, and I think that was in the GT4 Aston Martin. Mm-hmm. And that was such a nice car to drive. You could just push it to the limit the whole time, and that's one of my favourites. And in Thea's new tour that they're doing, it's called the Rush Hour, and they're going to have a GT3 and a GT4 team.
Cool.
So you have one of each, and then you can race in all these different races that they've got. And I think you need to register by the 24th to do that. But it's great fun because it means if you like GT4, you can do that. If you like GT3, you can compete in that as well. And there's lots of different world tracks out there that we can do it. So it's fantastic. So, and I was going to say, in bringing it all to a close, what would you like to say to your community? As many of them are here watching, and what would you like to say to them?
Just they always hear me say this. Just thank you, guys. Really, to be quite honest. As I said earlier, just to be doing this and people care that I'm doing it allows me to, enjoy what I do, present it to others. I get to work with amazing brands because of these guys. I get all these toys because of these guys. Without any of these guys, I wouldn't have any of this. So just thank you. I just really appreciate it, really.
Well, I think we all have to agree. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, Rory. And as I say, you're an absolute gentleman. And it's
thank
so
you
good
for having me
because,
here. I really appreciate it. Third time now, right?
Yes, the third time, and there'll be hopefully many, many more. But every time I interview you, there's another little one that's come along.
I'm done. But before we also go, if anybody's watching this who isn't subscribed to Hugh's channel, please make sure that you click the subscribe button as well. Make sure you like it as well. It really helps out Hugh on his path to 1K, which I know. Well, one, I know you'll get there, but two, I know how incredibly difficult it is. So keep plugging away, my friend. Keep doing what you're doing. Your stuff's great, and I'm sure you'll get there in the end. That's very kind. I really appreciate that. And it's great to see everybody watching tonight from Rory's channel and from our community as well. It's great to have you all watching. And I'm sure you'd agree, it's been a pleasure to have Rory on the show, answering all these questions and giving us a great answers, and really just a wonderful, wonderful experience of what it's like to be a top sim racer and YouTuber as well, from one of the founders of the British pillars of the community of sim racing. It's absolutely great. So stay on the line at the moment. But to everyone who's watching and who'll be listening on the podcast, have a fantastic week. Drive fast and try not to crash. And if you do, you might just win the race at the first corner. Bye just now.